Hey geeks, it's Andrea. We are on day 2 of this year's horror month. Today I thought we'd take a look at horror movies that are based off of true stories. The idea of any of these being true is incredibly terrifying. But hey, that's kind of what makes it fun, right? I hope you have your water ready, because this is gonna be a long one. Alright geeks, let's go. The Amityville Horror. This is kind of a controversial one because many people believe that the initial family that wrote the book is, well, to be blunt, full of something stinky. The Long Island home was purchased by George and Kathy Lutz in 1975. They moved into the home knowing about a horrible murder that happened about a year earlier. 23-year-old Ronnie DeFeo shot his parents and 4 siblings while they were in bed sleeping. This may deter most families from moving in there, but hey, they got a good price because of it. I probably would have purchased it as well. When moving in, they did have the house blessed. While blessing the house, the priest believed he was slapped, heard a disembodied voice say, "Get out," became violently ill, and began to bleed from his hands. Of course, this was all according to the Lutzes. I can't find where the priest was ever asked directly to confirm. After moving in, supposedly they had doors slamming shut randomly, the house was always cold, and there were phantom scents. They also claimed to find weird substances in their carpet, and George Lutz claims his wife would occasionally transform into an old woman. Every morning at 3:15 a.m., George would wake up randomly. This was approximately the time that the murders happened the year prior. One night, while awake, he claims he heard the children's beds being lifted and slammed into the floor, but that he was immobilized in bed. Sounds a bit like sleep paralysis to me. That same night, he allegedly saw his wife levitating above the bed. This was the night before they left the home, just 28 days after moving in. The reason so many people don't believe the story is because investigations of the home have gone 2 very different ways. The more skeptical investigators coming up with no evidence, and others quite the opposite. But there's nearly no evidence to support it. The few pieces of evidence that are popularly known have had some pretty simple explanations too. Also, the family has made quite a lot of money on the story. So I'll leave this to you. What do you believe? The Girl Next Door. I had never actually heard of this movie, but when researching the real story, Jesus. The movie was loosely based off of the murder of Sylvia Likens. People refer to this as the most terrible crime ever committed in Indiana. So that tells you the direction this is going in. This may be an earmuff moment for some of you. Sylvia's body was discovered on October 26, 1965. Her body was discovered with over 150 wounds. She was burned with cigarettes, matches, and boiling water. She was also tied up, beaten, thrown into walls, forced to eat liquid and solid waste, and forced to strip naked in front of people and do things with a Coke bottle that we will not talk about. To make matters worse, they rubbed salt into the poor girl's wounds. During a church event, the woman watching her, Gertrude, force-fed Sylvia a hot dog, and when Sylvia threw it up, she was forced to eat that as well. She was discovered on a disgusting mattress in Gertrude Banaszewski's home. She was a 37-year-old woman with 7 children of her own, so you could say that she should freaking know better than this. Though you can probably say that about, well, anybody. Sylvia's parents paid Gertrude $20 a week to take care of Sylvia and her sister Jenny. After a check arrived late, everything went to hell for poor Sylvia. Gertrude began to beat the girls. Although both girls were beaten, almost all of the attacks were on Sylvia. Gertrude would accuse Sylvia of stealing candy and humiliating her in front of people. She also accused her of spreading rumors about her children at school. The attacks became worse and worse as the weeks continued, even going so far as to have her own children and neighborhood kids join in on the beatings, having children push her down the stairs, for example. Everyone who was part of the attacks are actually free today, at least whoever is living. Gertrude herself only served 20 years, and that was the longest sentence. Most attackers didn't serve any time at all because they were children. So, yeah, that's a messed up story. A Nightmare on Elm Street. This one might surprise you, but you have to remember that this is inspired by true events and not a literal representation. There is a lot to this story, so I'm going to try to stick to the big points. Basically, a group of Laotian refugees who had unfortunately experienced a lot were found dead in their beds. The official cause of death was, and I quote, probably cardiac arrhythmia. Many saying the actual cause of death was nightmare death syndrome, which is now known as sudden unexpected death syndrome. I know there are a lot of titles for this one simple thing. This probably sounds confusing. Basically, they claim that around 43 Hmong and Filipino young males die in their sleep every year. Simply put, they get so terrified of their nightmare that they literally die of fright. The Exorcist. So you might be thinking, this story is already creepy enough. We really don't have to add any truth behind it. You know, you're right. I'd love to just move on, but that isn't what you came here for, so this is based mostly off of the first exorcism performed in the United States. The boy's name was Ronald Hunkeler, and he lived in Maryland. When he was 14, his Aunt Tilly gave him a Ouija board. Of course, it's debatable whether this has anything to do with his possession, but some believe it aided in it. Many people believe that his Aunt Tilly was actually one of the first spirits to visit Ronald. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after that things began to get weird. His family started to hear angry voices. Furniture was scraping the floors, and there were unexplained claw marks on Ronald's body. In an attempt to remove this horrible time from their lives, they moved from Maryland to St. Louis, believing that maybe moving from the home would help. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. The events continued to happen. They brought Father Bishop and eventually Father Bodern to help the event. Many of the events in the movie correlate very well to what happened to Ronald himself. Before the novel and film about this situation came out, the number of possession cases was about 10 to 15 a year. After the release of the film, there were allegedly as many as 10 to 15 a week. I don't know how much I personally believe these numbers, but hey, it's a terrifying thought. Psycho. Psycho is one of the many movies based off of the infamous Ed Gein. In fact, I'm sure without even thinking about it too much, you can probably think of a handful of movies inspired by Ed Gein. He is to this day still one of the most notorious murderers we have ever seen. He was obsessed with his mother and probably had a lot to do with the term mama's boy becoming a thing that people perceived negatively. Until her death, he pretty much never left the home. Something must have broken inside of him after her death because he became the Ed Gein we all know of today. He began to steal female corpses from graveyards, remove body parts, and keep them, then return them to their grave. After that wasn't enough, he turned to murder, which is what got him caught, of course. The biggest reason he is so notorious isn't for murdering initially, but for what he would do with the bodies of these victims. Trophies doesn't really do it justice. He would use parts of humans as materials or as decoration. I'll just leave the word taxidermy here because I don't really want to get into that. If you are into these things and somehow haven't researched Ed Gein, I highly recommend looking into him. He was, let's go with resourceful. Alright geeks, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We are only 2 days down in this year's horror month, so we have a long way to go. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun. Also pick up your limited time t-shirt from Teespring and order the song on Bandcamp. After you like and leave a comment, of course. Alright geeks, I'll see you tomorrow.